All right, so we're dealing with a front load LG washer that's given us the LE error code. Now, in terms of operation, how your washer gets to this point can vary from one machine to the next. On some machines, you might start the cycle and it runs to the point to where it's about to spin, and then you don't see any movement at all. It doesn't make any kind of noise, and then it just times out. And gives you the code. On other machines, you might see the tub jerk back and forth. You might even hear some kind of a grinding noise. Like I said, it'll vary from one machine to the next. There is no universal symptom that it's going to give. So now this is what we're dealing with no matter how your machine got here. And I'm going to walk you through step by step the 3 things that can cause your machine to give you this code and how to fix it. All right, so like I just said, there's going to be 3 things that can cause your machine to give you this code. First is going to be a bad Hall sensor. Second is going to be a bad stator. And third is going to be the main computer board. And so like with all repairs, you want to start with whatever is usually the most common and preferably the least expensive and easiest to replace, and then move on from that point. All right, so the first thing that I mentioned that we're going to talk about is going to be your Hall sensor. And this is what it looks like. And this sensor just sits on the stator, which is the motor of your machine. So this sensor controls the speed of your tub when it's spinning. And when the little component on the inside goes bad, it can't send the proper signal to the main computer board, and then doesn't spin at all, and it gives you that code. I would say that probably 90 to 95% of the time on the machines that I work on, which I almost exclusively work on LG front load washers, whenever I get that LE error code, it's almost always a bad Hall sensor. And the really good thing about it is that it's super easy to fix on your own, and it only costs about 10 bucks. To do the total repair for even somebody that's never attempted it would probably take less than 10 minutes. So LG actually uses 2 different types of Hall sensors across their machines. And you can spot the difference here by the part number. This one over here is 6501 KW 2002A. And this one over here is 2001A. The difference in those is going to be the length of these little legs, these little plastic shaft legs here, and how it mounts onto the motor. If you try to install the wrong one on your machine, it more than likely will still work. But what's going to happen is that because it's not seated properly on that stator, it's going to cause it to kind of move around freely, and it's going to get scraped by the rotor as the rotor is turning around the motor. So what you want to do is go ahead and take the old one off of your machine first before you order another one, and then just double check and verify that you are getting the right one for your machine. And I'm going to walk you through that process right now. Okay, so because we are going to be dealing with electrical components during this repair, you want to make sure that you power off your machine and then unplug it from the wall. All right, so you're going to want to come to the back of the machine, and we want to remove this panel right here. And there's 4 screws that hold it in, 2 on this side, 2 on this side. Just take those out. And then to remove this panel, you can just pull it out towards you. All right, so to do this repair, all you need are 2 different size nut drivers. You're going to need a 17 millimeter nut driver to remove this bolt right here. Once you remove this bolt, we'll be able to take this rotor off, and underneath there are going to be some bolts that hold the stator in place. To take those out, you're going to want a 10 millimeter socket. So we'll start with that 17. Once you've got that nut off, you can just grab your rotor right here and grab both sides, and then just kind of wiggle it back and forth until it pops off. Now your Hall sensor sits right here. Other technicians will recommend that you take off all these screws and get this wire off of here. You don't have to do that. You want to take your 10 millimeter nut driver and remove these 6 screws right here. I'll go ahead and take 5 of them out. And when I go to take this last one out, I'll hold the stator in place so that it doesn't fall. And once you've got that screw out, you can pull your stator back, and this is your Hall sensor right here. Just go ahead and unplug it. And then it's got these 2 little tabs right here that you can just kind of work your finger underneath and then pop this off, and then you can just rest your stator right there. So this is the Hall sensor that we just pulled off that machine, and as you can see, this is the 2002 2002A model. So at this point, you want to go on Amazon and buy another one of these. Like I said, they usually run about 10 bucks. I'll put a link in the description for the 2002A and the 2001A parts, so that you can go ahead and order whichever one that you need for your specific machine. I've got a brand new replacement here, and we'll pop that one on and see if it does the trick. All right, so we're back at our stator over here. Let's pull it back, and this is going to go back on here just like this. This one has the same little tabs right here that the other one had, and you can see right here there's two little plastic pieces that kind of protrude off of this right here, and you'll just line that up with those little clips and push it on until it's nice and firm and everything clicks back in place. Just give it a little bit of a wiggle and make sure it's not loose, and then you can plug it back in. And then just go ahead and put your stator back up, and you will line up the holes here with the holes that are on the back side of the tub, and you can stick a screw in there, get it started. I usually will put like 2 in just to hold it in place, and then screw everything back in. Go ahead and get your rotor back on and screw this bolt back in place as well. All right, so now that we've got it put back together and I've got it plugged back in, the easiest way to test your machine at this point to see if it is working, instead of having to start a cycle and wait for it to get to the spin, is to put it in the diagnostic mode. And for the majority of LG's machines, what you're going to do is you're going to press and hold the spin speed and the soil level buttons at the same time, and then press the power button. And when you do that, you'll hear your machine make that little ding noise, and your control panel will light up over here, and it'll bounce back and forth between some different numbers and letters. Now, once you've got that, you want to go ahead and just hit the start button. That first time that you press the start button, it'll put your washer in a slow spin. You can see that it's spinning. If I press that start button one more time, it'll take it to a higher spin. And as you can see clearly, it is now spinning the way that it's supposed to. So for this machine, it was in fact just the Hall sensor. And I imagine for the majority of you out there, once you replace that Hall sensor, you'll be good to go. Now, there are going to be a few instances where you're going to replace that and your machine's still not going to work. So if that ends up being your case, then the next thing that you would want to move on to is replacing the stator. If you go through the process of replacing the Hall sensor, your machine isn't working, you move on to the stator, you replace the stator, and it still isn't working, then the last and final thing that it would be is going to be your main PC right here. But for the majority of you that are attempting this repair, it's going to be your Hall sensor. So you pop one of those on and you'll be good to go. So just for a little bit of perspective, the average technician is probably going to charge you a couple $100 to do this repair. So I feel like $10 and 10 minutes of your time is well worth the effort to at least attempt it on your own. If you found this video useful, if it helped you out in any way, shape, or form, please hit the like and subscribe button below. I really enjoy making this content for you, and I want to continue to be able to doing it. I really do appreciate all your support. Thank you. We'll catch you next time.